Good afternoon from Singapore, and a very warm welcome to all of you, wherever you are joining us from today. Thank you very much for giving up some of your time to join this webinar, where the focus of our attention is on our middle school learning program on both our campuses, the Dover campus and the East campus. So we are going to give our attendees a few moments to get on board this Zoom platform. And while you're waiting, I'm just going to invite you to enjoy a couple of short videos, which give you a glimpse into a day in the life of our middle schools on both our campuses. So you'll first see a video featuring our middle school on our East campus, and following that, I'll play the video featuring our Dover campus. So enjoy these two videos, and then we will get underway. Thank you very much for your patience. And now a glimpse into our Dover campus. Okay, welcome again, everyone. Thank you to those of you who watched our videos and were joined this platform right on time, and welcome aboard to those of you who've joined in the last few minutes. So my name is Malika Ramdas. I'm Director of Admissions at the college, and it's really lovely to have you all here with us today. I know it's virtual, but very soon you will have the opportunity to connect with us in person, because this week we offer both this virtual webinar format to talk you through our learning program in the middle school. But very, very soon, in fact, tomorrow, we have our on-campus open day for middle school at our East campus, and then on Thursday, the same at our Dover campus. So if you have already registered for any of those events, we very much look forward to seeing you on our campuses. And if you haven't, I believe you may still do so. So you can find the registration links on our website. So this year we are following a hybrid model where we have a combination of webinars such as this one, as well as the on-campus open days. And if you haven't yet registered for webinars that are coming up next week, which you may still be interested in, particularly if you have a high schooler, then we have our high school webinars and on-campus open days available for you next week. We also have a boarding webinar, which I would strongly encourage anyone who's considering boarding for their child to attend. That boarding webinar will take place next week on October 4th, and you are very welcome to register for that. So today we will spend most of our time on a detailed presentation about our middle school learning program. And that will be delivered by our principals and some of our vice principals in the two middle schools on both our campuses. I will introduce you to them in just a moment. And once you've heard about our holistic learning program in the middle school, we will then have an open question and answer time with our learning leadership and with myself from admissions, which will be moderated by one of my colleagues in our engagement and external relations team, our head of marketing and communications. So that's the format for today. You can expect that we will spend about 40 to 45 minutes on the presentation and then about 20 minutes of quick Q&A at the end. So please feel free to submit any questions that you have via the question and answer button, which you will find at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Some of my colleagues in admissions are going to be working behind the scenes, answering some of your questions, if that is a question that they can give you a quick response to, and also provide links to information. So do look out for those. But we will also answer a number of questions live at the end of this session. So I just want to remind everyone that today's session does not include a formal presentation about admissions, because we already delivered a webinar going into our admissions philosophy and process in detail. That is recorded and available on our website, and we strongly encourage families who are thinking about applying to please go through that webinar. All right, so one final point from me, which is just to let everyone know that today's webinar is also being recorded, and this recording will be available on our website in a day or two. So if you can't stay through to the end, or if you want to let others know about today's information, that is the way to access it. So it is now my very great pleasure to introduce you to our middle school leadership on both campuses. We have our principals. At the Dover campus, that's Cameron Hunter. At the East campus, that's Gretchen DePoint. And they are accompanied by a vice principal from each campus today. Paul Brogdon is our vice principal for curriculum at the Dover campus. Holly Fairbrother is our vice principal curriculum at the East campus. And our other two vice principals are Dean Manzi at Dover and Nick Ball at East, who are responsible for pastoral care, are both actually away on middle school outdoor education trips this week. So they are not joining us today, but the principals and the two vice principals who are here will be sharing parts of the presentation. So with that, over to you, Cameron.
Thank you, Malika, and welcome to UWCSEA and to our Dover and East campuses. We are excited to have you here with us to learn more about our college and our middle school. At UWCSEA, middle school is a special part of the college where our holistic program helps our students grow and develop at this wonderful time in their lives. Next slide, please. And welcome also to the UWC global community. This comprises 18 colleges in 18 different countries on 4 continents. They're all very different, but they're all connected by our shared mission and values to foster peace and forge a sustainable future. So if you're joining our UWC community in Singapore, you're also joining a global movement. Next slide, please. We are guided by our mission, which informs our practice and our culture. It enables us to develop global citizens who embrace this mission and to enact it around the world. And with that, I pass over to Gretchen, Principal of East.
Hello, welcome. I am going to introduce and talk you through our guiding statements. Our mission drives our values and our educational goals, and we work diligently to create an environment that is underpinned by our well-being principles. And our goal is we provide a holistic program that develops these qualities, skills, and mission competencies that enable our students to live the mission throughout their lives. The visual is a wonderful example, sometimes referred to as the caterpillar, that explains and shows what we do at UWC Southeast Asia and why it is so special. Next slide, please. When we take a look further at our well-being and learning principles, it is important to note that they're not separate and they are intentionally intertwined. The well-being principles are key, and they encompass the learning principles, and they're not separate from one another. The social emotional well-being of our middle school students is essential to their success and happiness as learners. I always have said, happy students learn. We strive for lifelong learners that engage and reflect on information and experiences to construct new understandings and develop skills and qualities. Next slide, please. If we take a look at our important well-being principles, everything that we do really is around that pastoral care, and it's based around our UWC Southeast Asia well-being principles of being connected, autonomous, and competent. Next slide, please. When we're looking at our profile, you can see the qualities and skills. And really, it is through our mission and our values that shape our whole program and ultimately develop these qualities and skills that our students leave the college with and enact with the mission. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Cameron.
Thank you, Gretchen. Our middle school is designed to address the educational, developmental, and cultural needs of students ages 11 to 14. Our programme builds on the core knowledge, skills, and understanding initiated in primary school and prepares students for the demands of high school by exposing them to a broad range of academic subjects. We are fully aware that new students coming to our college may have come from very diverse educational backgrounds, but our curriculum is flexible and differentiated to meet the needs of all students. It is broad enough that students joining us from any school or any educational system can quickly feel at home. Next slide, please. At UWCSEA, we recognise the uniqueness of middle schoolers who are at a crucial stage of their development, where more mental and physical changes are happening than at any other stage in their lives, with the exceptions of early infants. We believe an effective middle school is developmentally responsive, challenging, empowering, and equitable towards the specific needs of our students. The middle years are also an opportune time for parents to step back and allow students to step up in terms of organisation and self-regulation as they begin their journey towards becoming young adults who we hope can and will make a difference for good. Next slide, please. Our programme is therefore developmentally appropriate for middle schoolers and is tailored to meet the needs of our students by our team of experienced specialist teachers. We know that this age is the ideal opportunity to develop character through appropriate challenge, and we encourage our students to go just enough outside of their comfort zone. We also know that it is really important that our middle schoolers enjoy their adolescent experience and be happy. Next slide, please. As such, we work so hard to consistently ensure an environment is caring, safe, and nurturing, and we view student mistakes and behavioural matters as opportunities for learning. Next slide, please, and over to my colleague at East, Gretchen.
Okay, I'm happy to talk to you about our middle school staff because this is a critical part of our program. Next slide, please. It is really important within our program that all of our students feel a sense of belonging and building relationships. And part of our program is they have monitors that are either a mentor or advisor that really support that social emotional growth of each student. Next slide, please. In addition, within our middle school, we have subject-specific teachers that guide that specific learning within that content inside the classroom and outside. Next slide, please. We have incredible outdoor ed specialists that extend our learning on our campus through our amazing facilities and through our overnight outdoor ed experiences. Next slide, please. We have lots of layers of scaffolds to support all of our learners. They have their teachers in their classroom. They have their mentor, who is the first face that they see every day. And then they have the heads of grade, and then they have their leadership. They have their vice principals, and they have their principals. So they have multiple people that they can reach out and receive support. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Brogden, and I oversee the middle school academic curriculum at Dover campus, along with Holly at East campus. As well as all the staff teams that Gretchen has just mentioned, we're also very well resourced in a number of student support services. Next slide, please. So these student support services include digital literacy coaches to support our students in the safe and effective use of digital tools and platforms. We have a dedicated IT Apple support desk to assist students anytime with their laptops and software. We have fantastic, well-resourced libraries with expert teacher librarians, and we have dedicated wellbeing and counselling centres to support students and families. In fact, all of these important services support teachers and parents as well as students. I'm now going to hand over to my friend Holly at East Campus.
Thank you, Paul. For the next part of the presentation, we'd like to talk you through our holistic learning programme. Holistic education in a middle school context is a dynamic and interdisciplinary approach that nurtures the comprehensive development of students and focuses on intellectual, emotional, social, physical, artistic, creative, and spiritual potentials. It values the individuality of each learner, presenting the possibility for all of them to excel, and it focuses also on building confidence, self-esteem, and character. Next slide, please. This graphic shows you our holistic learning program, and it consists of 5 interlinked elements, which you can see around the center circle on this diagram. And the 5 elements are academics, activities, outdoor education, personal and social education, which we also call PSE, as well as service. As the outer circle suggests, these 5 elements combine to provide our students with holistic values-based education that develops them as individuals and as members of a global society. Our broad approach to the 5 elements ensures that all students build confidence with meaningful accomplishment. They'll find their drive and their passion in one, some, or all of these elements. And we also connect student learning across the 5 elements. For example, our outdoor education trips include connections to service and academic subjects. And we'll now share a little insight into each of these 5 elements, starting with the academic programme. Next slide, please. We ensure that the learning environment is perfect for young adolescents. So we have a rich and varied academic programme which cultivates engaging, active and purposeful learning. We want our middle school students to be principled and committed to caring about the learning and the world around them. We offer concept-based academic curriculum with clearly defined subjects and learning goals that develop deeper thinking. Concept-based learning is an educational approach that focuses on understanding broader overarching principles or concepts that can be applied across various subjects and real-world scenarios. Instead of merely memorizing facts and procedures, our students are encouraged to understand the why and the how behind the information. And this cultivates critical thinking skills and allows for deeper understanding and retention of learning. Next slide, please. Our middle school curriculum is challenging, inquiry-focused, and specifically designed to be relevant to young adolescents. We encourage our middle school students to be actively engaged in the learning process, and they do this through making active choices. Students are supported but challenged. They undertake lots of investigations, inquiry, and group work. Through this, they learn to think critically, to be resilient, and to develop self-awareness, be collaborative, and learn how to manage themselves more independently. Next slide, please. Our aim is to go beyond rote learning by facilitating a deeper understanding of the subject matter. This aids in the development of analytical and problem-solving skills, which are crucial for lifelong learning and adaptability. Students learn to apply their knowledge in various contexts, enhancing their ability to transfer skills and understandings into unfamiliar situations. This approach allows students to make connections between different subject areas, enriching their overall learning experience. The concepts learned have practical applications, helping students understand the world around them. And evaluation goes beyond traditional testing methods to include projects, presentations, and other forms of assessment that measures understanding and not simply recall. Next slide, please. Across all our academic subjects, our middle school students experience multiple learning and teaching approaches. Every day is different in middle school. As well as academic knowledge and understanding, middle school students learn important transferring UWCSEA skills and values, such as creativity, communication, and collaboration. As Gretchen mentioned earlier, we have experienced and highly qualified middle school teachers who are experts at teaching young adolescents and also specialise in their academic subject areas. We also teach our middle school students in incredible purpose-built facilities for all subjects. And now I'll hand back to Paul.
Thank you, Holly. As I hope you can see on the screen here, these are our academic subjects for our middle school students. And you can see here that our students experience a broad and balanced range of academic subjects. There are subjects that are new to many students, and that responds to their expanding interests and developing self-awareness as they are early adolescents. These academic subjects are all taught through curriculum that's concept-based, and that requires much deeper thinking from our students. We'll show you a short video soon about our concept-based curriculum. As Cameron said before, our middle school curriculum is flexible enough that students joining us from any school or educational system can quickly feel at home here. Broadly speaking, the student timetable is the same at both East and Dover campuses, with a couple of very small differences. For example, in Dover, food technology is part of the design and technology curriculum, but is taught as a separate subject in East Campus. Another example is in East Campus, there's a course called SEED, which stands for Social and Environmental Entrepreneurship Development. On Dover campus, exactly the same learning outcomes as SEED are explored through our humanities and service programs. Next slide, please. So in line with our mission statement, our academic curriculum aims to give students varied experiences and develop those specific skills and conceptual understandings they will need to build peace and a sustainable future. Our middle school academic courses are created from best practice design principles, which are research-based and provide an age-appropriate, varied and challenging experience for our students. We want our students to develop higher order thinking skills and apply their learning to diverse situations. Here's a very short video which tells you more about our UWCSEA concept-based curriculum, which is not just in the academics, it's across the school and across our 5 elements. So let's watch this short video.
What is concept-based learning? Concept-based learning is centered around big ideas. Ideas so universal that they transfer across place, time, and situation. Content is important, so students must acquire knowledge and skills within each discipline. But the ability to make sense of their knowledge and skills in the world around them is just as important. This doesn't happen by accident. Students are given a variety of experiences so that they develop conceptual understandings, significant ideas that transfer to new contexts. This ensures that they thrive in a complex and unknown future. The UWCSEA concept-based curriculum leads to the IB diploma in grades 11 and 12 and is developed from our mission. Our educational goal is that students embrace challenge and take responsibility for shaping a better world. To do this, they must develop higher order thinking skills and apply their learning to diverse situations. Because our community is so international and diverse, our students bring a wide range of experiences, knowledge, and skills with them when they join us. A concept-based curriculum allows them to connect their prior learning to our experiences at school, as well as develop deep understanding. How do we develop conceptual understanding in our students? Concept-based learning goes hand in hand with learners having a diverse and broad range of experiences. This is achieved through all 5 elements of our holistic learning program: academics, activities, outdoor education, personal and social education, and service. We explicitly plan for concept-based learning by asking conceptual questions and teaching through inquiry, exposing students to content that stretches and deepens their thinking, fostering dialogue and collaboration, asking students to generalize and apply their ideas to new contexts. Together, these experiences support the development of conceptual understanding in our students.
Okay, So as a final point about our academic learning in the middle school, we're very lucky to have a single platform for laptops with excellent online tools and technical support. Laptops have definitely revolutionized the way we can teach and learn both in school and at home. However, we're very careful to maintain balance with our middle schoolers. Mobile phones are not to be used throughout the school day, and at breaks and lunch times, we insist that students put away their laptops and interact with their peers and environment. So now I'm going to hand back to Gretchen. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, I'm going to talk about the personal and social education component of our program. Next slide, please. You may hear the acronym PSE, which stands for our personal, social, and emotional education, is one of our 5 elements of our learning program. PSE is how students come to understand themselves and relationships with others. A foundational element of our program is a key that actually unlocks the learning of the other 4 elements of our learning program. We could say that PSE lives everywhere, and every teacher is a PSE teacher. Next slide, please. The PSE curriculum is intentionally shaped by the standards for PSE in all of grades, taking students from personal to interpersonal to global is an aspect of our PSE program, with an ability to recognize and regulate their emotions, from friendships and work independently and collaboratively towards goals. Students use their learning in the PSE program to become active, self-directed learners and individuals. We want our learners to focus on these different areas: developing a sense of support for well-being, developing healthy relationships, developing a sense of belonging and contributing to the community well-being, and a commitment to care that supports the well-being of our local and global communities. Next slide, please. Within our program at both East and Dover, we have an advisory and a mentor program. Every student, every day, starts their day with their advisor at Dover and mentor at East. This is a very special time. We consider the role of the advisor or mentor to be that significant trusted adult. We acknowledge that the presence of a caring role model correlates directly with the positive well-being of our students. The advisor or mentor will help keep students and work with their students with their planning, organization, help them keep up to date with the activities, any happenings in school, organize and help deliver the PSE curriculum, and accommodate their students on their outdoor ed experiences. Parents have an opportunity at the beginning of the year to meet your child's mentor and advisor during the Meet the Teacher evenings. Next slide, please. So the PSE time is also a direct focus in the mentor time. Students will meet with their mentor every morning, and that's where your child starts the day. Their mentor becomes a very important pivotal person in their transition and learning journey. The whole PSE program goes well beyond the classroom. Mentor time helps set up a safe and secure learning community and environment for students to establish interpersonal relationships necessary to their overall school success. Next slide, please. While PSE is addressed in all areas of our school, it's explicitly delivered through our advisory and mentor program that I just spoke about, and also a subject called life skills, where each student goes once a week. These lessons often discuss and are activity-based in a safe space where students can speak openly and develop strategies to develop the challenges of adolescence. Next slide, please. In life skills, students develop their understanding to key concepts like self-awareness and relationship building that I just spoke of. They learn how values, beliefs, and attitudes contribute to a positive sense of self. Students also explore how to assess and respond to risk, apply interpersonal skills to interact with respect, respond to peer pressure, appreciate diversity, and manage change, which often comes hand in hand with being an expatriate or third culture kid in a diverse community. Next slide, please. Positive psychology is often at the heart of our program. You can see examples here of concept skills which we explicitly teach and model in the middle school. It is through these concepts that we teach our explicit units on digital citizenship, goal setting, and growth and development, personal safety, healthy living, and positive relationships, just to name a few. Our PSE curriculum is well-researched and dynamic. We are consistently keeping up to date with the latest research, which is why our program also is constantly evolving, and we're very proud of this aspect of our program. Next, I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Cameron.
Thank you, Gretchen. I'm going to talk about activities, and this is another essential element of the 5 elements of our holistic learning program. UWCSEA is all about creating intentional opportunities for our students to develop themselves and thrive. And one way we achieve this is through our vast activities program. Next slide, please. Both campuses offer over 1,500 different activities, and all middle school students on both campuses participate in the varied program, which includes, next slide, please, art, drama, rock band, orchestra. Next slide, please. Sports, individual, recreational, or team. Next slide, please. Global affairs and leadership in avenues such as MUN, debating, TED Talks. Next slide, please. Design and innovation. Next slide, please. And lots more. There really is something for everyone in our activities program. Next slide, please. Here we have a quick video with some activities highlights. Superb, excellent. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Paul, who's going to talk about another element, my favorite maybe, outdoor education.
Thank you, Cameron. And yes, outdoor education is a very special element of our middle school program, and it's really central to our college's philosophy. In fact, just last Friday, I returned from a wonderful week in Tiaman Island, Malaysia, with my grade 8 students, and we trekked through the jungle, we camped overnight, we kayaked across the bay, we did an adventure race building rafts, and we snorkeled over a reef to survey rare coral species and fish species as part of a conservation project. And the highlight of my week was definitely swimming with my students over a coral reef alongside a turtle. So it's something that we all really enjoy in the middle school here, students as well as teachers. Next slide, please. So our outdoor education curriculum provides rich and intentional opportunities for development in these 4 areas. We have connections with nature and environmental stewardship, self-identity, for example, overcoming personal challenges, healthy relationships, and of course, developing new skills. These 4 areas are all necessary for students' well-being and flourishing, which Gretchen talked about earlier on. Next slide, please. And of course, we don't have to always travel overseas to experience learning outside the classroom. Outdoor education also takes place here on our campuses, with some examples here. And we know that learning is much more powerful if it's connected. So we ensure that we build in many opportunities for our academic program, our activities, our PSE to take place in out of the classroom settings. And that helps our students develop those UWC skills and qualities. We have some great facilities on campus, like climbing walls and high ropes courses. And through our Campus Connect program, our students interact with our buildings, facility, support staff to create a deeper sense of community and connection with people that we work with. Next slide, please. Post-COVID, we've been very busy re-establishing our middle school outdoor education expeditions. And for future trips from next year onwards, we hope to be going to Tiaman Island in Malaysia with our grade 6 and grade 7s. And we're also hoping to return to Thailand with our grade 8s for the first time since the pandemic. So we're very excited about planning that at the moment. Each year we step up the level of responsibility. We start this in the primary school, but through the middle school, the challenge definitely increases. And that's really about supporting that greater degree of independence that students have as individuals and as a group as they move through the middle school, preparing them for things ahead in the high school as well. We do have other excellent opportunities for middle school schoolers to travel on overseas trips during the school holidays as well. Some recent examples across the two campuses are things like a multi-activity trip to Western Australia, a service trip to Cambodia, and also a music trip to Prague and Vienna. So there's lots of exciting opportunities for our students to get involved in things here. And with that, I'm going to head back to Holly.
Thank you. And I'm just going to finish off with talking about service, which is by no means least, even though it's last, as this is kind of the heart of our mission, is that being in the service of others. And the opportunities for learning at UWC extend far beyond the classroom, and our students have the opportunity to take on experiential challenges that build resilience, collaboration, and leadership. And this part of our program aims to enrich student learning by engaging them in real-world activities that both benefit the community and enhance their academic understanding. The service learning allows for the practical application of their classroom knowledge, thereby fostering civic responsibility and encouraging lifelong engagement in community service. Next slide, please. The 4 strands of our service program are all part of the skills and qualities we want our students to develop, and the holistic profile of each and every student is really important to us here. It's important that no matter how small or large a service, project or action students take, it's vital they learn the impact that has on the bigger system, whether that's within the college, in Singapore, globally, or through student leadership opportunities. College service is something that happens in campus, and this is about where the children are changing within themselves. So an example is when high school MUN students lead middle school MUN students and teach them the skills that they need to be successful. Singapore service is about local, and in this photo you can see one of our local service projects, Hair for Hope, in support of childhood cancer, where our students are sponsored to have their hair shaved, and for girls, Beautiful Lengths, where they can donate 8 inches or more for wig making for cancer patients in an AIDS hospice or visually handicapped. And we have lots of other opportunities working with people with physical and mental differences. Global service is our global concerns, and this provides significant leadership opportunities for our students as they raise awareness for the concern. The students associated with their global concern often lead then to support their organisation, and this can build into Project Week in grade 11, which is a student-led, self-organised overseas programme. There's also student leadership groups such as the Sports Council and Service Councils and Student Councils. Next slide, please. The components of service learning are intentional, and they include preparation, where students identify community needs, they take action to address these needs and raise awareness of them, and they also reflect and evaluate on their experiences. Benefits for students include enhanced academic learning and transfer of their classroom skills, knowledge and understanding, along with personal growth, civic engagement, and the communities have their needs met, and they foster partnerships with educational institutions. For parents, service offers you an avenue for involvement and understanding in the educational experiences of your child. And now I will hand over to Cameron to wrap up.
Thank you I don't think you can see me. Thank you very much, Holly. So now we'd like to, in line with and along with the admissions team, open up to any questions that you may have. I think, Lucy, you've been collecting some questions during that time.
Hello, I'm here, but can you see me? Hello, everybody. I have. Thank you very much. Thank you to all our principals and our vice principals for the presentation, and of course for Malika for kicking us off. So I have been keeping track of the questions, and thank you to our participants for all the varied and fabulous questions. So I'm going to start our Q&A now. Cam, since you were the last to speak, I might start with you if that's okay.
Sure.
The question has come in around homework. So there's two parts to this question. The first part is, how much homework do students have on a regular day? And then the second part of the question is around extension classes for advanced students in a particular subject, and do we offer those? Okay,
so in terms of homework, clearly as we progress between grade 6 to grade 8, the challenges, the academic challenges, the cognitive challenges, they get a little bit higher. We're preparing students for high school. So I would estimate that in grade 6, you may be looking at maybe 1 hour a night on a normal night. And now, of course, this is going to vary depending on situations. So maybe that would be 5 hours in a week for grade 6, and that would probably rise to maybe a few more hours in grade 8. Our student planner says about 7 hours, but it really depends on your circumstantial situation. But the challenge gets higher as they go through the middle school. And if we find that when they go into grade 9 in high school, they're well prepared and they're able to take what is a slight step up, but it's a sequential step along that way. Okay.
Extension classes for advanced students in any particular subject, do we offer those?
Our teachers are extremely well trained at differentiating within the class. And so within our classes, our teachers are, catering to the needs of the students who need it, but also really challenging and pushing the students who are extending thinking in that class. Our curriculum is very rigorous. And our teachers are trained to enable that to happen. We don't have additional classes. So we don't have an advanced science class because within a concept-based curriculum, and within authentic assessments, students are appropriately offered significant and appropriate challenges to really extend themselves. And our teachers are well trained for that. Now, of course, in languages, that's different. Okay, you have different proficiency levels in languages, but that would be within academic subjects, apart from language.
Great. Thank you, Cam. I might go to you, Gretchen, for this one. We've actually had a couple of questions around this, so I'll try and combine them into one. And it's around students joining from different schools and helping them to settle in. It's obviously sometimes an awkward age for students as they, develop in their teenage years. So when students from other schools join the middle school at UWC, how do we make them fit in? Or how do we help them, not make them fit in, that's a terrible way to say it, help them to fit in? And how, it says here, what do we find the most challenging when fitting in?
Okay, great question. And it's one that we think about all the time. It's really important as students join the college. We have a really well program that the heads of grade have developed so that first, we need to know as much information as we can before your child joins the college. So once you have decided to join the college, we send you just a basic survey to the parents and the student just to find out some further information, maybe some hopes, different things that maybe they're a little bit timid about, just so that we can have some of just the additional information and helping looking at how we can place them into the classrooms, maybe a potential buddy that we can have join them. And then when they join the college, we have a well-articulated orientation program, because that's one of the things that's really critical, is just learning how to navigate the spaces. Before all of the students are on campus, knowing how to get from point A to B and learning what the timetable looks like and just getting to know some familiar faces. And then when the school year starts, then you will have your mentor, of course, and you'll build that community. And within that community, within the mentor or advisory classroom, there will be different buddies that will be assigned to a new child, because we want to make sure that there's multiple opportunities to connect with different students and maybe find a new friendship. The one thing that Cameron actually spoke about, I think, is key. Joining the college, joining a new school, one of the key components is getting involved. As you just heard, there's lots of different ways your child can get involved and find different activities, because as they get involved with different components outside of just the classroom environment, those are going to facilitate some additional connections with different students and then really get them involved in the environment. If your child is struggling at all, you've already heard about the many layers of support. And we have the wellness center, we have the mentors, we have the students, and we always are constantly making sure that we are paying attention to how the child is transitioning to our environment.
Thank you, Gretchen. Okay, Paul, I'm going to give you this question, if you don't mind. Could you please share how the UWC mission and service are integrated into the specific subjects? And if you could share some examples, that would be terrific.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good question. Connecting things is something we work very hard at doing well in middle school and across the school. And really, it's supported by our curriculum and our teachers and the teams that we work with. And we do have a K-12 curriculum that's really starts with the mission of the school. So peace and sustainability is really fundamental to our curriculum in all subjects. And that's something that we think is very important. We actually have a separate peace, sustainability and service curriculum, which we integrate into our classrooms. And I can think of so many different examples of that. So if you're dropping into even an art classroom, you'd see students talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goals and how they can recycle things in art. In an English classroom, you'd see students reading books and texts and talking about plays that connect to our global concerns projects in the region. I teach humanities, and before I took my class on outdoor education to Tiamen last week, we were really thinking about the ecosystem in Tiamen and what the different connections were and looking at the systems. And there's just so many different examples like that. Last week, we had our UWC Day, which we celebrate once a year with all the other United World Colleges. And we had students looking at butterflies around the campus, doing sponsored walks, so lots of things there. And project-based learning, I could go on perhaps, but I think it's important that our teachers, our heads of department, all work together, so they don't just work in their own subject area. They're very outward looking. We make connections across subjects, and we're always bringing in the mission. We're bringing in service, peace, sustainability into all our different subject areas. So it's fundamental to what we do.
Terrific. Thank you, Paul. Holly, this question is around the IGCSE. I know that the IGCSE will no longer be offered from next academic year. What other options are available to middle school students, and do they get an equivalent certificate in middle school?
Okay, so just to clarify, IGCSEs were not ever part of middle school. They're part of high school, which starts in 9 and 10. And so there isn't any certificate, so that change doesn't affect middle school at all. However, we have been engaged in conversations with the community about what learning looks like in 9 and 10 and how it becomes a progression from 6, 7 and 8 and that concept-based learning that we've talked about. And like many educators and parents around the world, we've asked questions about resilience and well-being, and along with the authenticity of traditional assessment and the relevance of exam-focused learning. And so the answer is that they are developing an entirely bespoke concept-based program, which prepares students to tackle complex challenges in the world today. So our current grade 10s were the first cohort to be able to choose between the two programs. And I can't give you the exact figures because that's high school, but I know that over 50% of grade 10s did choose to the GCSE program. I do work with the high school to manage the transition from grade 8 into 9, and so that starts around next month, where Kate, who's the VP for 9 and 10, she sends out the information to parents about the choices. But just very briefly, For example, the 9 and 10 program, the UWCSEA program, offers 10 courses in grade 9 and 10 courses in grade 10, whereas the GCSE, they did with 8 courses, for example. So there's a variety of assessment. 9 and 10, the new 9 and 10 program has been developed with the DP in mind, which the GCSE didn't necessarily formally go into quite as coherently. So I hope that answers the question, but doesn't really affect middle school. The current grade 8s are the last cohort who will have the choice. But the programs are designed to work in tandem and prepare them for 11 and 12.
Terrific. Thank you, Holly. I think you answered another question, which was how do we sort of prepare our students for the pressures and the curriculum then in high school. Is there anything else that maybe, Paul, you'd like to add to the preparation for high school in middle school, or anybody else on the panel would like to jump in and add anything else to Holly's response?
Yeah, I think coming back to my previous point, our curriculum is K to 12. So all our learning outcomes are building through the middle school, ready for the high school. And in fact, as Holly was talking about those new courses, we help them to develop those new courses in grade 9 and 10. And they'll be a really nice addition for our students moving up from grade 8 into high school. And my own two children just moved up from grade 8 to grade 9, and they feel very comfortable moving into high school. So, everything we do is working with the high school team. We work in the same campus, we work with the same people. Some of our teachers teach across middle and high school. So, we're making sure that step into high school is a step, but it's not too much of a step for our students. And in fact, they're very excited to move into high school and learn some new subjects. So hopefully that adds some more information to that.
Terrific. Thank you, Paul. Whilst I have you, I will direct this one to you. It's around assessment. So 2 questions have come in. One is quite specific to a grade 8. But in general, some parents would like to know how much assessment do students normally have in the middle school?
Assessment's an interesting word. So we definitely work on a process of formative assessment. So most of our assessment is ongoing. So students and teachers are working together all the time in a feedback cycle, and our teachers are constantly giving students feedback. The students are working on peer feedback and self-assessment. We don't have year-end exams. We don't believe in that in the middle school. It's not really the most effective way to measure learning or even to prepare students for high school. So students do have tests. They have, tests in mathematics and languages, as you might expect, some recall tests, but many different types of assessment, from projects to digital to artifact projects, things like that. And there's many different types of assessment, and teachers are really sharing that assessment feedback with students. They're also sharing it with parents through our online learning platform. And we have a single grading scale for all our subjects. So it's quite straightforward in terms of where students are at in terms of their learning. But it all comes back to that concept-based teaching and learning. A recall of words or numbers or figures is not really conceptual understanding. So all of our assessment is really about deeper conceptual understanding. And I would say that in many subjects, we have units that might be a few weeks long, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Sometimes there's a big assessment at the end, but there'll be ongoing assessments to prepare students for that as well. So I would say assessment is happening all the time in our middle school classrooms.
Terrific. Thank you, Paul. Just to build on Paul's question, so you mentioned the online learning platform, and Gretchen, I might hand this one over to you. It's just around the parents' involvement and communication with the academic staff around their child's learning. So Paul mentioned the online learning platform, but how else do parents sort of communicate with the mentors, the advisors, and how much involvement or visibility will they have of their child's learning?
Great question. And this one is there's not a standard answer because each student develops at different paces within the middle school, in 6th grade and 7th grade and 8th grade. And really what is important is as they grow and develop in the middle school, the parents have less and less hands-on involvement. We really want to facilitate the children to be their own drivers of their education and that they become increasingly more independent. That's not to say that you don't know what's happening. Of course, you know what's happening. You can access what's happening on the OLP. And if you have questions, the teachers are always available to reach out, as well as the heads of grade. And there's so many different events that happen on the campus, whether it is different coffee talks with the respective head of grade, the Meet the Teacher event. There's lots of different opportunities to come and see what that learning is as well. Additionally, through the e-brief, the principals and the heads of grade update with really important information, and it could be just even helpful questions to ask your child to stay involved, because as students grow and develop in middle school, sometimes they share less and less with mom and dad, and it's not something that we need to be concerned about. It's something that we really want to celebrate. And certainly if there are any concerns, then the staff members would reach out to you as well.
Thank you, Gretchen. Malika, I have a couple of admissions related questions that I will hand to you now. The first one is residential boarding available for middle school students?
Thanks for the question, Lucy. The answer is a qualified yes. So from grade 8 onwards, we do offer residential boarding, but your child does need to be grade 8 eligible to be considered for boarding. And that is the youngest age at which we start our residential life option. And then that goes through to the high school. So hopefully that answered the question. While I'm on the subject of boarding, I'm going to make another quick plug for our boarding webinar. It's a wonderful opportunity to connect with our directors of residential life, some of the house parents, and also current boarders on both campuses. And that is held as a joint event, which is on the calendar for the 4th of October.
Terrific. Thank you, Malika. Another question for you. Can students do inter-campus transfers? So if I were to move from one side of the island to the other, could I then transfer my child as well?
I'm afraid not. So we really try to create cohesive communities on each campus. And so once you accept a place for your child, that does become your child's campus. And we want to foster that sense of community. We do have a lot of families who relocate within Singapore, but I'm afraid we would have a very chaotic situation if students were moving between campuses all the time. And so only in quite exceptional circumstances would we consider a campus transfer. But basically the answer is, I'm afraid not.
Thank you, Malika. Cam, you spoke about the activities program as part of the presentation. A parent has asked, how many activities can a middle schooler choose? Oh, you're on mute, Cam. COVID taught you nothing.
I knew that would happen. I should just add from Malika's last question that if you don't know Singapore, then it's a very small island, and I live actually way at the other side of the island and come to Dover every day, and it's fine for me. So in terms of your activities question, there really is no set limit, and in fact, what we often need to do is monitor that students don't do too much, because there's so much on offer. So our advisors and our mentors will be planning and monitoring and keeping an eye that the students are not overwhelmed. And there really does need to be some strategy even in terms of what are we doing, how much can we do every week, and what activity will we do for this part of the year and for that part of the year. And that's something that I should mention. Activities happen in seasons. Activities in service tend to happen in seasons. So to make it quite easy, just think of it as half a year. There's a semester 1 and a semester 2. So you could do a sport on a Wednesday afternoon in semester 1, and then you could do a drama club in semester 2 in the second part of the year. So it's not just about the days of the week, but it's also about considering what you'll do in each half of the year. Now, because we do it in each halves of the year, it gives students great interest and they're able to find out and get involved in a little bit more. But there's no limit. We just need to keep an eye that students don't overwhelm themselves by doing too much.
Thanks, Cam. Okay, Paul, I'm going to direct this one to you. It is about the Home Languages program. So there have been 2 questions. I'm going to start with the first, and the first one is, which languages are offered? What's the schedule like and curriculum? So I think it's just a little bit more information around what the Home Languages program is and how parents or students can access that program.
Thank you. I would definitely advise having a look on our website because there's lots of detailed information about the languages. I'll list some of them in a moment, but our home language program is very much to support language acquisition or language continuation in languages that we're not offering during the school day. A very rich program, many different languages. Some of the students are speaking it at home. Some of them it's a heritage or a cultural reason they want to learn the language, and it's small classes. There's an additional fee and it takes place after school. We have many different languages. So I'm just having a look on the screen here so I can give you the right idea. Something like 18 different languages are offered across the college. We have 280 Dover students currently in our home language program and 194 in the East program across the school. And just, I mean, the languages are incredible. So it's things like Danish, Italian, Russian, Thai, things like that, that we wouldn't be able to offer during the school day, but they are popular in terms of our home language program after school. And you know, there's many opportunities to get involved with that. Was there a follow-up question on second and third languages during the school day?
Yeah, that's correct. So my interpretation of this question is around whether or not we have a sort of a multilingual program, but I think I'll hand it over to you just to have a comment on that.
Yeah, we generally don't. We have, you know, we have a range of languages are offered during the school day, and most students, if they're not in study skills or English as an additional language, are studying one of our core languages. We do have some students on Dover who are part of the Swiss stream who are learning German during the day in the school day and French after school, and also some Dutch students who are learning Dutch after school but French during the school day, and that's because of the program that they might re-enter when they return to their home countries. But in general, students can learn one language during the day in middle school.
Right. Holly, would you like to add anything to that, or has Paul covered it? Terrific. I do have a question for you though, Holly, so don't get too comfortable. Okay, this one is around advisory groups. Again, this is sort of, I've combined 2 questions here. So the question is really around how big advisory or mentor groups are, and for each subject, like math, science, and so on, how many students would the teacher potentially have in their classroom?
Okay, so the answer is pretty much the same for both of those questions because they travel in their mentor or advisory group mostly. And at the moment, we're between 20 and 23 per mentor group. And in grade 6, to help manage that transition from primary school, we keep them in all of their subjects with their mentor group. So obviously, if there's 20 in their mentor advisory group, then the maths teacher will have 20, the science teacher will have 20. We start to change that up a little bit in 7 and 8 so that they get used to working with different people. So because that's what happens in 9 and 10, because they have their option choices. So just building their skill set in collaborating and communication. So we will then mix them up in a couple of subjects, but again, the maximum is 23, 24. So yeah, that's the most that they will have.
Terrific, thank you. A follow-on question. Are students categorized into different bands as per subject expertise?
No, they aren't, other than languages, obviously, because they're working in different phases, like Cameron said before. But no, we have heterogeneous groups, so the students of varying abilities and backgrounds and skill levels are mixed together. And this offers a range of educational benefits. It helps with their personal and social and emotional development. As we talked about before, we're all PSE teachers, so it helps them develop their empathy and understanding along with their teamwork and collaboration. Academically, it helps them develop rich classroom discussions because they can have varied perspectives, which leads to more comprehensive and engaging understanding. We are holistic and inclusive, and so stronger students can help those who are struggling depending on where they are, and that reinforces their own understanding, and we encourage teachers and students to find all their specific strengths in different subjects. So the CBTL means that we can offer differentiated instruction, like Paul mentioned before. And so this means that the curriculum is enriched. We believe that this helps with their civic responsibility, because learning in diverse settings prepares students to become responsible citizens, as well as gets them ready for their career, because this is what their future career settings are likely to look like. So other than languages, no.
Terrific, thank you. That's actually quite a good segue into this next question that I'm going to direct to Paul. You obviously spoke about the concept-based learning at length and what that looks like in middle school. The question is, how do we ensure that students still have the subject knowledge, or the subject matter knowledge of certain courses that they might require as they lead into high school and then thinking of university beyond?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that we have a K-12 curriculum that we've designed ourselves, and very much there are learning objectives as you go through, and they're not just concepts, there are definitely skills and understandings that students must have as they move through the middle school, and we design our program working with the high school. We have central curriculum coordinators who make sure that we're at the right progression between the primary school and the high school. The high school have built their subjects based on what we've done in middle school with their new courses in grade 9 and 10. And we work regularly. I work with heads of department, and Holly does on East Campus as well, in terms of what the curriculum looks like. And, we review it regularly. We have a very regular curriculum review cycle. We're looking at not just our UWC mission, but we're also looking at what the IB program looks like at the end. And we're very careful that our program through middle school and 9 and 10 is really preparing students with those kind of fundamental knowledge, skills, understandings, and types of learning that they'll experience in the IB as well as beyond that. So it's something we can't sit back on and just assume that we're doing a good job. We spend a lot of time reviewing and refreshing our curriculum and teaching approaches to make sure that the students are really well prepared. So it's definitely not something we do in isolation. We have to work very closely with primary and high school to do that well.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Paul.
Lucy?
Yes.
Can I just add on to what Paul has said?
Of course.
There is sometimes when people hear the word concept-based learning, they tend to believe that means that there's not a factual basis involved or a knowledge base involved. We can't actually teach about concepts unless we teach knowledge and facts. You can't have a concept-based curriculum without knowledge and facts. And so we know the knowledge and facts which are required for future learning, and we teach those knowledge and facts, but we ask students to pull the concepts and the conceptual understandings in those knowledge and facts together. So it's not just the knowledge and facts, it's the deeper learning underneath them. So just thought I'd put that in there. My own background is science, so I know we teach quite a bit of knowledge and facts in the science in middle school.
Terrific. Thank you so much for adding that, Cameron. That's really helpful. A question for you, Gretchen. You spoke a lot about the PSE and the support that students have as we help them to settle into middle school. A question has come in around whether or not we have a counsellors and counselling department to support our students at this age.
Okay, great question. The answer is yes. We do have a wellness center, and we do have a counselor per grade level. And then they transition up so that they get to know those students. The Wellness Center is available for lots of different things. It is a wonderful space, and I would say one of the most common spaces that it is just used, maybe even just to take a break. Sometimes if a student has a lot going on and just feels like it's better to have a quiet minute during the lunch break and spending some time up there with some creative therapies on their own and get grounded and prepared for the rest of the day, they can use that space. If the student needs to have some additional support, our counselors are available as well. And sometimes as well, if the parents reach out to the counselors or the heads of grade, just saying that they have information that their child is struggling and needs a little bit of additional support. Our colleagues that are not on the call today, our dean from Dover and Mr. Nick are also vice principals that tend to the pastoral care within our students, and they work closely with our heads of grade and our mentors. So that's an additional layer of support that we have for our students.
Fabulous. Thank you, Gretchen. We're almost through the questions, but I do have one that I think is a great question, actually, and anybody could answer this, but I'm going to direct it to Cam. Feel free to jump in, anybody else who's been involved in this before. It's around whether or not teachers help and support students to attend international competitions, for example, maths competitions, biology competitions, and so on. I know the answer, but perhaps you'd like to take it, Cameron. Oh, you're on mute again. Goodness gracious.
I'm rushing to demute. Yes, so yes, our students are regularly involved in international competitions, particularly ones that seem to be very much popular are mathematics. So we have mathematics clubs which are involved in that, and other international sort of Olympiads, as it were. But certainly the mathematics ones is very popular.
Mm. And I can also comment that there are plenty of international competitions. We've just sent a music group to Vienna to compete. We have a number of sort of peer-led, student-led groups entering competitions like hackathons all over the world. We had a group from East who competed in New York recently. So there are plenty of opportunities for students to enter these competitions on a global stage. Okay, I have saved this question as I think a nice little wrap-up question, and it's going to be you, Malika. The question is, anything other than the campus location to be considered between Dover and East?
Thank you, Lucy. So maybe I am the appropriate person to answer this question, but actually I will probably invite Cameron to do so as well, because the two of us have had the pleasure of working on both campuses at different points in our careers at the college. Honestly, I think that, as students get older, the proximity to the campus becomes less important. Cameron already referred to the fact that Singapore is a pretty small island, and getting around becomes a lot easy. It's easy in general, and particularly as students get older. So I don't think even location is that much of a factor particularly once students are middle or high school age. For some families, a prior connection to one of the campuses becomes an important element in their decision making. They might know someone who works at the campus, or they might have an alumni connection to that campus of some kind, either through a sibling or a parent. And so that could be a factor. But what I really love is that, we have the same mission, values, feel, everybody aspires to that same mission, which you've heard throughout today's presentation. I think what becomes interesting is how different traditions evolve on each campus, and that makes it particular and unique to that campus. So as an example, coming up in just a few weeks from now, we have sort of an iconic Dover celebration called UN Night, which has gone on for as long as I think the Dover campus has existed, which is a celebration of different cultures and cultural traditions, language, food. There's an amazing food festival, all of that. In exactly the same week, on the same day, East Campus has its celebration around the same ideas, and that's called Culturama. Both are very much student-led celebrations. Yes, supported by staff, but really it's the students that drive these. This is just one example of how traditions evolve differently. So, I think families should know that whichever campus their child lands at, or whichever campus they choose, depending on where they choose to apply, they are going to get the UWC experience. It might have a slightly different flavor on one campus because of a particular tradition, a particular, aspect that's evolved, but really they're getting the same transformative education at both. Cameron?
I think I'm actually unmuted for this point. Yay, wonderful. Yeah, I would just echo that. You're going to get a great education at either school. And so obviously, as you mentioned, I was at UWC East for about 5 years. I'm now in my 4th year at Dover. So yeah, they're both fantastic places. And it really would be a difficult, I don't know how I would answer that question, except maybe by saying, just go to the schools face to face, if you can, have a walk around and just see how you feel. And maybe that's where you would do. But either school, wonderful.
Terrific. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Thanks again to our participants for all the fabulous questions. I will now hand back to Malika to close the session. Thank you, Malika.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I'm going to thank our principals, Cameron and Gretchen, and our vice principals, Paul and Holly, for their contributions to the webinar. They're going to head off back to the rest of their day. And audience, if you could stick with us for just a final moment or two, I'm just going to share my screen again and invite your feedback on today's session. Just a very quick way to give us feedback through a QR code that will take you to a very brief survey. I promise you, it's extremely short, but we really value your feedback because that helps us to improve on these opportunities to share information with prospective families. So in conclusion, while you're scanning the QR code and hopefully giving us some feedback, I just want to really thank all of our attendees today for giving up their time to join us and learn more about our middle school program, meet with our principals and our vice principals. And as I said before, just a very quick reminder that we do have our middle school open day events on campus this week. So we have our East Campus event tomorrow, our Dover Campus event on Thursday, and then just a quick reminder that we have a boarding webinar taking place next week on October 4th. And then if you do have high school students as well, or you're thinking ahead and want to learn more about our high school, we also have our high school webinar offered next week. And we conclude our open day program with our on-campus high school open days next week as well. So a quick plug for all of those upcoming events, and you can still register on our website. So finally, if you could spare a few moments to give us some quick feedback through this QR code, we would be very, very grateful. And thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you on our campuses very soon. Thank you.